Alright, sorry about that abrupt stoppage, guys. My camera shuts off at 10 minutes and I didn't know that I'd been babbling on that long. So, we're back to this. Wet paintbrush, dab it on. This is great for traveling with your art journals. If you're traveling, you want to do some art in a coffee shop or on the road, you don't need to bring your paints. You can just bring your watercolor crayons and paint. So, if you're looking at, say, the Reeves brand, which is on the cheaper side, and you try to do the same thing, you're just going to get more of a watercolor effect. You don't get the same amount of pigment, and that's kind of the difference in between, you know, the cheaper versus the more expensive. And then if we go back to the Portfolio brand, you definitely can do the same thing. Pick it up here. You're going to get more of a watercolor look rather than, you know, the heavy pigment. The last technique I'm going to show you, I love to do this with the Staedtler brand or the Neocolors, is dip the crayon in water. So you can just dip the crayon in water, and I'm going to go over here over my non-gesso side for now, and then look, you just get, so this is kind of where it's starting to dry out, but at the beginning you get a painterly effect by dipping your watercolor crayon in first and then painting it down. That's so fun. So of course you can use a regular paintbrush. Lots of times when I put watercolors crayons on top of my page, if I'm just doing a random swirl like I like to do on all of my pages, I'll take a water pen, a water brush I should say, and make sure it's wet, and then I'll just kind of go over it lightly, just so that it you know, just to take that waxy kind of effect off the crayon so that it doesn't make my journal stick or transfer onto different pages. So that's your experimentation part. Hope you learned quite a bit from that. If you, again, with the gesso side, you are going to go much longer, especially with the more expensive ones. Your crayons, the pigment, the paint's going to go much further than the non-gesso side. But this is kind of a nice painterly watercolor soft effect. But as you can see over here, how nice it is over the stamp when the page is gessoed. So we're going to go on to a technique. I'm going to flip my little page over here, and I'm going to show you how to build a background. We're going to start out with the portfolios in the first step, because I know you guys have all ran out to your local Staples and bought them. So I'm just not going to worry about it. I work from light to dark. Sometimes I work dark to light, and I'm just going to randomly just, you know, spread it around. And these are so buttery, guys. You can see the texture of the gesso a little bit picking up. I did prep my pages with gesso beforehand, before I started this. Gonna go on to the next color. Again, not worrying about it. Just putting them down. So if you did this with the Reeves, the cheaper watercolor crayons, again, you're just going to get a softer look, and maybe that's what you want, right? That's why I have all four kinds, because it's all about the different look and what you may be feeling that day. It's also fun to mix the different ones together and see what you come out with. I do suggest the Portfolio ones at the beginning for beginners, because they just make such soft backgrounds, and anybody can get them because they're at Staples and all that goodness. And then our darkest color, again, not worrying about where I'm putting it. You can do some swirls. I love to do swirls. It's a meditative process for me. I've been practicing for a long time. I wasn't very good at the beginning, but you know, with any type of drawing, it's all about practicing. Some dark over here. So sometimes, you know, from here I would just take my, I'll just demo it a little bit. I'd take my baby wipe, and that's where you can just start blending it together. You know, you could be heavy-handed. I'm being very, very light-handed. If you be heavy-handed, you can wipe it totally off and then just go back. But that's kind of fun. But I wanted to show you a different technique. So I'm going to take my big brush again. This is, well, not so big. This is only 3/4 inch or whatever. And I am not wiping it off now. It's dripping. And I'm going to show you why we want that much water on here in a bit. So again, I'm not worrying about it too much. I'm just, you know, putting the paint down, letting it run together, covering it all. the more you work it, the less the swirls will show up and the colors will blend together. From here you can go on top of it again. If you think you've blended the colors together too much, you can go on top of it again. But see how I'm pooling it? I want that for this technique. Obviously, if you're not going to do this technique and you just want to blend your background, use less water. Wipe your brush off in between and use less water. But for the technique I'm going to show you, we want more water. So at this point, like I said, I can go back in with my watercolor crayon and just add a few wet on wet type swirls. It's all to you. It's so fun. So my page is extremely wet. What I'm going to do now is take some really cheap plastic wrap. I'm going to cut off a sheet pretty much the size of my page. Sorry if I just hit the camera there. Because I did that, now it's all scrunched up. That's the only downfall of cheap plastic wrap, is that, look, I ruined it. It gets all crazy on you, rather than the good stuff. But anyways, so I'm just going to lay it over my page. Now what I want, see how it's got bubbles. I want to try to get rid of the bubbles, but I want all those, good texture type looking things. I'm going to move this bubble out. You can play with this, move it around, whatever. But what we need to do now is let it dry overnight. Earlier, through the magic of TV, well, not through the magic of TV, I just really wanted to say that once. I prepped my page earlier. What I actually did, because I didn't have time to dry it overnight, I took my heat gun, and so this is a page we just worked on, and I heated it on the, non-painted side, because I was worried about melting the shrink wrap, and that seemed to work really well, helped speed up the drying time. So here we are, it's pretty much dry. Not going to worry about it if it's not, but let it stay overnight. If you don't like the wrinkled pages, put it under some heavy books overnight, go on to the next page, whatever. So I'm just going to pull off the plastic wrap, and look at that awesome background. You can do this with acrylics, but watercolors are just so fun. It pulls. This is kind of reminiscent of the technique that Rachel showed. I think her name is Rage0113 or something like that. I just love her. I love her accent, and I love her work. I love her style. With the glimmer mist, that would be fun too. You could spray some glimmer mist after you put down your watercolor crayons, and then spray it and then put the wax over it. And I haven't tried it yet, but I would believe that it would probably pool. The glimmer would probably pool in those little ridges. So that's where we're going to stop here. Hope you try some good backgrounds. Actually, I got a couple of minutes, so I'm going to go flip over the page and quickly show you how different the nail colors are. And I'm going to do this without any gesso, just because it's impromptu and I got some time on my class. And I'm going to take my baby wipe, like we talked about. Look how rich that is. You are not going to get that effect with any of the other brands. But see how without the gesso, that just sunk right in. And I can't go too much further than that. The Reeves, I'll just go a little bit beside it, and then again sinking right in. I can't move it as much as that. You can try to add a little bit of water, see what happens, but it's not going to move too much without the gesso. But it ends up being nice. Stamp on top of this. We'll go on to the next layers here tomorrow in the next class. Another two-parter. I hope you guys enjoyed. Get out your, run to the nearest Staples, buy some watercolor crayons, play with it, and show me what you do. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.